question is that the motion be agreed to, and I call the member for Riverina.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Today, 12 August 2024, marks the 75th anniversary of the Geneva Conventions of 1949. Following the atrocities of World War II, it was clear to the peace-loving international community that a global set of minimum standards had to be implemented to ensure such atrocities were never committed again. And as the member for Bean has just quite correctly pointed out, we haven't seen a war on that scale since. But what we are seeing at the moment is beyond belief, and it is just so sad. We live in troubled times. I do commend the member for Moreton for bringing this motion to the House, but I guess it doesn't really matter so much what we say in this chamber today. It is out there in the halls of power in certain countries that action has to be taken. And what we are seeing in Ukraine is just so despicable. Russia stands condemned for what it is doing. And in the Middle East, of course, there are just innocent people dying every day because of the conflict there. Today, the conventions from Geneva are ratified by 196 states, including all United Nations member states. It cannot be understated just how significant an accomplishment it is to have the world unite and to strive to protect the innocence of war. And that's why this motion is important. But more than that, the world must stand as one, or at least peace-loving communities and countries in the world must stand as one when they see the sorts of actions taken by Russia and taken on October 7 by Hamas. And too many people stand silent when those sorts of outrages happen. And the standard we walk past is the standard we accept, and that goes in local communities. It also goes to the halls of power in the various jurisdictions across the world. Sick and wounded soldiers, prisoners of war, civilians, medical personnel, chaplains and humanitarians all receive the benefit of protection under the conventions, and that is right, that is proper. Unfortunately, it seems war is a reality of life, and it should not be so. It's something which has plagued civilisations for millennia. Even today, despite all of the progress in the field of diplomacy and democracy, our ever-growing friendship and tolerance amongst nations, we see we have not shaken this scourge. People could learn a lot from what took place at Cowra following the 5 August 1944 outbreak. Japanese POWs broke out of an internment camp, 1,104 of them. 234 of them were killed during that outbreak. 4 Australians, 5 if you count the one who died a little later on at Blaney, sadly. But what you saw from that Cowra community is a lesson for the world, and I was pleased that the Prime Minister Anthony Albanese visited for the commemorations weekend before last. And it was interesting that at the press conference where we stood together as Labor and Coalition, as one. One of the first few questions from the journalist was, don't you find it odd that people of a political divide are standing together? Well, no, we didn't, and I think the things that unite us as members of Parliament are far greater than those which divide us. And Cowra reached its hand of friendship to Japan, and it would have been easy at the time to spurn Japan, because it was a situation where there were some terrible atrocities committed against Australian soldiers at Sandakan, at Hellfire Pass and other places by Japanese soldiers, by the Imperial Japanese forces against Australians. And yet Cowra reached its hand of friendship, and it is now an example to the world of what could and should be done in this instance. And so I commend the member for Moreton for bringing this forward. It is important that we talk about it, but it's more important that we act when we see things that are wrong. When nations of the world see incursions into other countries and the world sees that it is wrong, the world should say so. Not stand silent, because to stand silent is to allow it to happen, to encourage others to do the same. And what we're seeing by Russia and by Hamas-led Palestine at the moment is beyond belief, and it needs to end.